Hey, hi everybody. Hey, my name's Happy Cat, and welcome to this very special episode of the Deadheadland show, special 420 Blurs Day edition. I've got a good friend of mine here, rock and roll photographer Hal Masonberg, who also happens to be a film director, and he's recently directed a film called Jazz Nights, A Confidential Journey, and actually directed this film. It came out a couple of years ago, and it was entered into some film festivals. It's won some awards. Here we've got this. It won the Copenhagen Jazz Film Festival award in 2017. And anyways, Hal's here today to tell us about his film and to tell us a little bit about an Indiegogo campaign that he's doing in order to help get the film distributed. And so let me just bring him here to talk to us. Ladies and gentlemen, Hal Masonberg.
Howdy, everybody.
Welcome. All the people out there are watching, and we're here. Oh, there are people out there, and we're actually live right now on Deadheadland Facebook. We also happen to be on Twitch TV Deadheadland, and there's always like one or two people that watch us on Twitch. I know Twitch is mostly for video gamers, but we're out there, and we're also on the Deadheadland YouTube channel. We have a couple of people that watch us on YouTube. So if you're watching right now, go ahead and say hello in the comments, because I'll be able to see the comments and share some of those with Hal. And if you have questions along the way, you're welcome to share those as well. So anyways, welcome to everybody, and welcome Hal. So
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
And I love the opening music.
Yeah, that little animated sequence that was done by Darren Ney, guitar player formerly of Nicky Bloom and the Gramblers and such. But Darren does like video and animation stuff also, and So, anyways, he did that as a little gift to Deadheadland about a year ago. It's really fun to use.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's him playing guitar on that. Everybody always asks. Yeah, so.
Yeah,
Well,
either
very
way,
good.
Very uplifting.
Yeah. So Hal, I know you. I mean, we've met over because you're a photographer and you've actually shot pictures for Deadheadland a few times, and it's great to see that you do other things, and you also happen to be a film director, I guess. So tell us a little bit about that and about what you're doing right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm a film director before I was a photographer. So sort of writing and directing has been my thing for most of my adult life. And Jazz Nights, the film that we're going to be talking about, is sort of what led me to do the photography, because I was able to combine the two things I love most, which is film and music, and had never combined them before I did Jazz Nights. And then after I did that, and people responded to the film, and I realized just how much I loved capturing musicians, especially improvisational musicians. So I basically, the bulk of what I do with my photographs is jam band and jazz musicians.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so Jazz Nights. Now, getting to the specific thing, this is a film that's about jazz music, I assume. Give us a little bit, just a summation of the premise of what music or what jazz we're seeing in this.
Yeah, it's an interesting, I think obviously an interesting story. And part of it was that it happened in such an unusual setting. It was something that basically my downstairs neighbor knew I loved jazz and came to me and said, "Hey, by the way, I've got a friend who's a trumpet player who's playing at an illegal hash bar 5 blocks away. If you want to go see him." And I did. That combination seemed good to.
You had me at illegal hash bar.
Yeah, I mean, back then it wasn't recreationally legal, so I went and got my medical card. Went in. This was about 2011. Went into one of this little, basically speakeasy. It looked like a 1920s speakeasy in the back room of a cannabis dispensary, and sat down and pretty much didn't leave for the next 2 years. And the music that was being done there was so unique because the musicians couldn't bring in an audience. They weren't allowed to advertise it because it wasn't legal. So there was only ever a handful of people there. And And so they took risks that they might not normally have taken musically and personally if it had been public. And I was so blown away by what they were doing and so inspired by the music and the risks that they were taking. And because I love improvisational music, obviously the Grateful Dead, um, I started audio recording them and I realized that this was not something that was going to last and that I would never really be able to describe it accurately. I'd never be able to do it justice unless I made a film about it. And, you know, as a filmmaker, that seemed to be the best way to do it. And I was incredibly lucky that the musicians were down for that and the venue itself, which is no longer there.
You know, it's just interesting. I can't help but think of the just kind of the parallel to this past year of like, oh, you know, that you're filming them so that somebody can see the music because they couldn't get an audience, kind of like the people right now because of different circumstances, but people can't, or the past year have been able to play in front of an audience. So the streaming shows, so it's just the use of a visual medium for people to see the music. So.
Well, and that's the thing. And for me, as a filmmaker and just a visual person in general, I think that was the best way for me to sort of share the experience of what went on there most accurately and sort of get the feel of it, and not just the place, not just the music they were making, who these guys were. Because just as individuals, it was an amazing, diverse group of incredible guys, you know, and to capture their personal energy along with the music they were making, that was sort of what I wanted to do, was offer people the experience I had, which was I got to know them over the course of 2 years. And that also, you know, told me more about the music they were making. You know, it became very personal. And I think it does, hopefully it does in the film as well.
Well, very good. Yeah. Well, you know, everybody that's seen the film has really gotten that sense of it from them, and the way that it's you let the musicians speak for themselves. There's not a narrator. You're not a character in the film. You're invisible as the camera or the director of the film. It does come off very personal that way. I tell you what, let's for ourselves and the viewers, take a look at the trailer for the movie and give people a little bit of an idea of what this film is. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen, the trailer for Jazz Nights: A Confidential Journey. And give me a moment to do the tricky internet stuff here. We're all queued up and ready to go.
I had some friends who ran a dispensary, and you know, I have some friends who are really great jazz musicians. So I thought, why can't we play there?
More than an area of the record store, jazz is kind of a philosophy, it's a way of life. Is that life is filled with kind of unpredictable shifts, and then playing jazz is a good practice in learning how to negotiate the changes as they come.
I've never been to a bar before. This is first for me.
The point is not the drug, it's always the music. You always put that first, and sometimes the drug can, you know, open up your mind a little bit to relax and become more one with the music.
Jazz is supposed to be a soundtrack for sex. We bring that spirit in. It's like this real like rawness and spontaneity. And it's so perfect it's happening in a hash bar, because it's like has this like kind of illicit, speakeasy, underground thing that only a select few can come into. You can't just walk in there. You have to You have to be a member. You have to earn your way in there.
It's a cutting edge environment for cutting edge music.
The side of the audience member, you're gonna have to come to the music. And in this case, that's what happens sometimes. Pop music comes to you. Sometimes you gotta come to the music.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So this is like a real movie. This is,
It's almost like a real movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you went ahead and you shot this. You told me that you were mostly shooting it yourself there. Oh, hold on. I see that noise coming from my computer here. There we go. That you shot this yourself, but you did have others helping you as well.
Yeah, no, there were a handful of other camera people that worked. We shot over the course of 4 nights, 4 different Sundays. And so there were a few people that were there running camera every night, and there were some people that were different, one weekend here, one weekend there. I did the main camera, which was up basically in the faces of the musicians. We had four cameras running on the musicians at least at all times, and another camera kind of going around the joint, getting B-roll on people and activities and stuff like that. But yeah, I was only doing one camera at a time, so I had a lot of help with some really creative and people that I really have a lot of gratitude for putting the time in.
And when you were shooting this, like, I mean, was this a full-on production where you had planned what you were doing ahead of time, or is this was happening and you're just like, let's just get in there and shoot this? I mean, how to what level was this a pre-planned project?
It was pre-planned, but it was also winging it in so much as I'd been audio recording the guys for a couple of years. And like I was saying before, I knew that I needed to make it into a film. But I pulled it together pretty quickly. I mean, I had a good idea of what I wanted. But we're working on no budget. I'm pulling in people who've got equipment, and we're renting what we can afford to rent. And but the thing with it is so much of it is improvised, like the music itself, right? Because you get in there, no matter how much you plan, you don't know what the musicians are going to do. You don't know what's going to happen. The first day of shooting, the AC broke down in the place, and it was 104 degrees in there.
Mm-hmm.
So suddenly, okay, this hadn't planned on this. Okay, so or someone doesn't show up or whatever. It was, but that's part of what I love, is going with the moment. Especially in something like a documentary about improvisational musicians making improvisational music, where we're doing our improvisational dance around them.
Right. You just have to figure it out. That's great. That's great. All right. And so you had a vision for this and a plan, and budgeting is also a thing. Nothing comes for free. Oh, who said that? Oh, it's Robert there, but I mean, you have to. So that's part of why we're doing this as well, is because you want to raise some money. You've already made the movie, but you need to raise some money for the distribution of the film, and to cover some of the rights and such, and other expenses that go with post-production and finishing up and getting it out there to the public to see.
I seem to have a bad habit of making films that I don't own all the rights to, so I can't actually just put them out there. So yeah, hopefully I'll learn my lesson someday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, It's interesting because that's a challenge that I mean I deal with that as well a little bit with some of my stuff, and it's like shoot first, ask questions later.
That's what I did, and if I'd thought it out, I would have asked the musicians maybe to play more originals. There are a number of originals in the film that those guys have written that they donated to the film, so they're just amazing. But I really didn't know about just how many jazz standards are going to end up in the film. And they're expensive. The publishing companies have been great in working with me, but even when they're working with a low budget film and they're giving me breaks, it's still incredibly expensive. Yeah, there's 12 songs in there that we have to get the rights to. There's vintage stills that we use that we have to get the rights to. There's archival footage that we need the rights to. There's distribution insurance and all that. I mean, it adds up.
So there's always things, I guess that people didn't really see ahead of time. So now I'm wondering, and I've got about to set up the next clip, and this one is it's jazz and cartoons, So now, is this something we all have the rights for and stuff? Is this some public domain stuff?
The images that you'll see in here, I had gotten the rights to show this stuff at film festivals. So we did a year of film festivals. But a lot of the images you're going to see in here in this sequence are things that we're going to be raising money for the rights to, and that we're not going to be able to stream it on whatever platform we end up on, Netflix or Amazon or Hulu or wherever we hopefully end up. We will not be able to stream it without getting the rights to each and every one of these images.
Yeah. Okay. And part of it is that you're an independent. You're not doing this with a studio. You're not like this would be you leasing the film out to Amazon or to Netflix, whoever. It's not like Amazon's coming in and they're producing this for you. And that's how a lot of things work nowadays. Is people do it themselves. There's
exactly. Yeah, it'll be a negative pickup. Yeah, no, none of those places even know Jazz Nights exists yet. Which there's that catch-22 is you can't submit it to them to even look at until the rights are dealt with. You go to Amazon or Netflix or HBO or something, and if they're interested, they can pay for the rights, but you can't even get them to look at it until the rights are dealt with. So
that's very, very interesting. Yeah, so these sides of this that people don't really consider. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's take a short little break because this is a really fun sequence. We're going to look at the jazz and cartoons. This is a sequence from the film, and we'll come back and chat about it a little bit more in a minute. And I think I've got the video thing set now.
Tom and Jerry, or Bugs Bunny. If you watch Tom and Jerry, you heard Duke Ellington. If you watch Bugs Bunny, you heard probably Basie.
Wagner.
Oh yeah. You heard the classical guys. You heard the jazz guys too.
Okay.
Pink Panther. You couldn't get no better jazz than the Pink Panther because listening to that was Henry Mancini stuff.
Didn't Spider-Man have jazz too?
Spider-Man?
Oh yeah.
No idea.
I love the
Jazz is everywhere.
Charlie Brown.
You got jazz.
Charlie
going.
Brown.
The teacher?
Vince Guaraldi.
Best Christmas song. Boom, boom, doo, 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 boom, boom, doo,
Right.
doo, boom, boom, doo, doo, boom, boom, That's it.
That's the thing I've always said. If you get your music in children's music,
You most likely
that's a
love
legacy.
I hear it.
That's a legacy.
No shit.
I mean, like the cartoon stuff is the craziest stuff you ever hear too.
No, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Oh, you have to put cartoon.
Family Guy. That's a lot of good jazz in that.
Great jazz in that. Flintstones.
Flintstones,
Meet
yeah.
the Flintstones.
Rhythm change.
I'm a little family. Right? I mean, that's what it is.
Judsons too.
Meet the
Oh, Batman. Feel hefty.
That's jazz.
All right, that was totally fun. Those guys were having a lot of fun with that too. So yeah.
Yeah, we did a bunch of, I did individual interviews with everyone first, and then I went and got most of them together for the group one, which was super fun. And I think the jazz and cartoons thing, I think it's strange because when I tell people that I made a documentary about jazz and jazz musicians, one of the most common responses I get, believe it or not, is, "Oh, I hate jazz." That's like the response I get 8 times out of 10.
No!
And I know. It's like,
All right, yeah.
it's unfortunately here in the country of jazz's origin, it's the least popular musical genre that we offer. But I think people don't realize what jazz is sometimes, and they don't realize they've grown up with jazz in cartoons and all kinds of things, and that it's a lot more than they think it is, and there's a lot more that goes into that genre that qualifies jazz than what they might imagine jazz is.
Yeah. Well, and musically, we were talking before the show about, kind of the Grateful Dead connection, and I mentioned how, like, before I listened to the Grateful Dead, I was into certain jazz artists that was, to me, the more psychedelic music. Mahavishnu Orchestra, Return to Forever, Chick Corea, Herbie Hancock. Chick Corea is, if you know that album, I think it's like came out like 69 or something, but it's just like, it's the most out there thing. It's wilder than any space drums, anything. It's like, most people can't handle it, but
Right.
for me, it's like, oh, that's like the epitome. I love stuff like that. So I was already into that stuff when I got into the Grateful Dead, and when I go, oh my gosh, the Grateful Dead does shit like this when they get out there. And I know, like, the spacey, weird jam is not everybody's favorite thing, but that clearly I get excited.
No, and it was the opposite for me because I came to jazz through the Grateful Dead. Because I started listening to the Grateful Dead when I was about 12 years old, because I had an older cousin that was really into them for a short time, and so that got me in at a young age. And learning how to listen to the Dead, having that music click in the way it all of a sudden does, and you wake up and you're like, oh my God, I understand this. I can hear this now in a way I never heard it before. That allowed me to hear jazz. So because the Grateful Dead were doing so much of what, just basically taking the concept of jazz and the concept of everyone playing different melodies at the same time, and communication and improvisation, and that once I got into the Dead, and then I started tapping into jazz, and I was like, oh, wait a second, this is all coming from the same place.
Right. That, to me, that's like the most creative music, and that's again what I loved about the Grateful Dead. When I'm kind of a latter day Deadhead. I didn't join because of In the Dark, but I'm more kind of in that time frame. 82 was my first show. My second wasn't until 87, and then that's when I started going a lot. So, but for me, the most exciting parts was when they got lost in a jam somewhere. And particularly the peak, and to me it was like kind of like just like this like huge gigantic Kundalini orgasm explosion, was a really good space out of drums into just a really good space. That was the thing. It didn't happen every time, but never does. But you do your best, and even bad pizza is still pizza. But
Exactly. Well, that's also my favorite stuff, and it's for me, my favorite stuff with the Dead is, if I had to pick a favorite year, it would be 74. Just because of how jazzy it was, but also, all the spaces between the songs were such, and 76 did that like crazy too, which is just really just exploring new territory between each song, which they did less and less as the years went on. That's my favorite stuff, is in between the songs, man.
Right. The exploration, and that does, I mean, for lack of a more concrete definition, that is kind of the jazz. That's the space. We're just feeling it, and we're kind of whatever the moment is, man. That's what we're playing it, and certainly with the background of whatever their skills happen to be as a musician, but it's that's the stuff.
Well, and I think that I think that's one of the things that it's what made the Grateful Dead, right? And it's also one of the things that I think turned a lot of people off to the Grateful Dead that didn't get it, was because they were out there taking these risks, because they were sort of playing from what they were feeling and what was going on that day and what the interaction was between the members. The music was so unique and one of a kind for that moment that it also meant, in taking those risks, that they'd be imperfect, which of course us as the audience loved that, and it's one of the things that I loved about the guys in Jazz Nights in my film, is that they were taking those risks because they had nothing to lose. They were there, they were playing for themselves and the love of anyone who wanted to tap into it with them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, again, same thing with my photography, man, to capture those moments, for human beings to go into those moments, to share those spaces that are in this moment and no other moment. Whether it's the band or the audience. To me, that's just one of my favorite things in life. That's about the height of spirituality for me personally.
Right, I completely get that. Yeah, I'm there with you. And so my impression is that you saw, when you saw this little scene happening at this particular hash bar, that excited you, with the creativity happening there, and that's why you were driven to create this film.
Well, and I was very lucky too, because there weren't a lot of people there, and because I went every week, and because the space was so small, the place was set up to look like a 1920s speakeasy. So it really did harken back to the speakeasies, and the fact that it was a hash bar was just kind of perfect, because 1920s prohibition, and now we're 2011, 2013 prohibition.
Right, just at the end of it, as we're in a very different phase now, clearly,
Exactly. Thank God. But one of the amazing things for me was I would get to sit as close to the musicians as they were sitting to each other. So they would be in this sort of, half circle, and I would be sitting in a chair as close to them as they were to each other. So it was such an intimate experience. And I'd close my eyes and just hear it. So when I recorded the sound for the film, I also wanted to record it from where I had sat and exactly what it sounded like. So you can hear the circle, but also make the film intimate, visually intimate, where you can see what's going on, the interaction between the musicians that you might not be able to see from far away, but when you're right there. And I wanted the film to be intimate. And I wanted the film to go into the music, not shy away from the music, which I think a lot of films on jazz or music don't actually have as much music in them as this one does. I wanted to be able to take people into the music, because that's where the guys went, and that's where they took me.
Right, and this is the story. It's not just a concert film. It's not just there is musical sequences, and there's lots to really enjoy and groove on in this, but it's about the scene and about the musicians and about the more. It's a whole package.
Yeah, well, and I think I like to say that the way it feels to me, because when I show the film, I'll get so many great responses, but not just from people who love music. I'll get responses from other kind of artists, painters and actors and sculptors, and I think what the film hopefully captures is it's just a microcosm of something that's going on, all over the world. In these sort of creative pilgrimages that we go on as individuals, expressing ourselves through art and engaging and creating empathy and all the things that come out of making art that's personal.
Right.
And finding the audience that clicks with it.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. And what's neat too is that this is because this is like kind of a small little scene, but there are like millions of little things. Like everybody thinks that like whatever they're into is like the only thing in the world, and certainly us as Deadheads seem to think that. And people that are onto a specific trip, they're like, what? Like, why aren't you going to Mexico? Or why aren't you going this tour? Or why didn't you go to see this band that night? Because we get so myopic in our vision, like that's the only thing. But really, what and that's what one of the things that excites me, there's so many cool things going on in the world, and really, as big as our Grateful Dead world and community is, we're still just really like a pin drop. You know, the fact like if you've ever been to a show at Madison Square Garden and it's like the biggest thing in the world until you get out of the show and you're like, fucking New York City barely noticed this happened. You know?
That's it in a nutshell. Right?
Yeah.
In a nutshell. My first show was Madison Square Garden, 1979. But that's the thing is you go to a Dead show, and especially on one of those nights when it just explodes, when it's just that perfect combination of everything, and everyone's on, and Jerry's doing his thing like nobody's business, and everyone's blown away. And and you walk outside and you realize nobody knows this was happening. This incredible, enlightening moment of pure magic and energy. And it was kind of the same things with jazz nights. In the film, I start out just with the street outside the place. And it always, occurred to me when I'd walk out, it's like people are walking by. It's on Melrose in Hollywood. It's on a main thoroughfare. People are walking by. Nobody knows that this is going on inside. On the other side of this wall is this incredible experience, this incredible music being made, people being taken to new heights, and outside people are just roaming the streets, doing their thing.
Yeah. That's kind of cool in a way. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that. So to get back to the specifics of the film, the film is made. You want to show it to people. It got shown at the film festival and all, but you need to get this out to people. And so back to the specifics. At Indiegogo, that's a fundraising campaign for a business to get you off the ground, to get you doing something cool for people that want to support this. And you're offering all sorts of really cool perks and stuff for people that want to do this. I noticed from as little as $10, you get your name in the credits of the movie. I mean, that's to me right there. That's the thing. Does that go on to IMDb? I don't know.
You'll be in the special thanks. So it should
so you get
technically
there,
be an
you
IMDb.
get your name there, but also just other things, and you have options for people to get bootleg copies of of some of the music and DVDs, Blu-rays, etc.
Yeah.
But the main thing right now is that this is kind of like for you to finish this project. This is kind of like the final stage of your thing to get the film ready to distribute. And then, like all great concert movies, this could hopefully, be out there for years to come for people to discover, So
Well, it's the film's been 8 years in the making since we shot it, and then we got the music rights. We had our premiere at the Newport Beach Film Festival in 2016. Got the rights to do festivals for a year. Got the music rights and the image rights and all that stuff. Did festivals internationally for a year. Won the audience award at the Copenhagen International Jazz Film Festival in 2017. And then once that year was up, we didn't have the rights to do anything else with it. So again, that's what we're doing now. I was going to do this originally right before COVID hit. I was going to have an Indiegogo campaign, but that kind of put the kibosh on that. So we're doing it now, and we have to raise close to $30,000 to be able to put this film out there. And that only allows me the music rights to 12 of the songs that we need the rights for 5 years. So I'm going to be...
But hopefully once the film is out there, then it can get self-generating and be making the money from being distributed, and in the regular ways that films can then generate money that way. And again, the difference with your production versus somebody is because you're an independent putting this together, so it's like all these little things cost money. There's not like something bankrolling this.
No. This is literally come out of my pocket and other crowdfunding campaigns, and no one's made a penny on this film. And it's crazy to say, but I doubt this film will ever see a profit. It's not that kind of film. And any money it does make is going to go right back into renewing the music rights so it can continue to show. But if we don't make the money for the music rights, I can't show the film anywhere. I can't screen it. I can't stream it. I can't,
So now on an Indiegogo, do you have to raise the full funding in order to get the money, or
no? Luckily with Indiegogo, we get to keep whatever it is that we make minus the percentage that they take out of it, minus taxes. You still have to pay taxes on this money. but we do get to keep that. So we're hoping to make the full amount. Who knows? It's always a crapshoot when you go out there, especially with something you love, and you never know. But the response to the film has been so great. I want it to have the opportunity to reach more people that might get something out of it.
Well, good. I'd love to help you with this. I love your passion for it. I love the fact that you just went ahead and you're doing this. You're not doing this. I had a talk with another friend of mine the other day about how all of us are obsessed upon making money with things. It's like, well, we want to do well, we want to support ourselves, but sometimes creating music, creating art, should just be done because it needs to be done. And with film, with media, it costs more. I know that from just the things I do. The little silly media stuff that I do as Deadheadland costs money, and that's why I have my Patreon campaign and other ways to try to kind of keep it afloat. And then there's
it's important stuff, by the way. It's important stuff you do.
Yeah.
By the way.
Thank you. Yeah. And there's human beings involved too. You have to eat, I have to eat. And it's we do what we can. So anyways, for those of you out there in Deadheadland that would like to support something really awesome, this film project that Hal's put together is really great. We'll post some links to some more clips and stuff for you to see. We couldn't play everything here. But this is worthwhile. And again, for a $10 donation, you get your name, thank you in the credits. And aside from that, you're supporting something really cool and supporting an artist doing their thing, which is part of what Deadheadland's kind of about. Supporting people doing their gig, being creative, and doing something with music, getting music out there to people, supporting the musicians, and our hunger for fresh music. So,
yes, from your mouth, yeah.
Yeah, very good. Well, thanks so much, Hal. Is there anything else that we didn't say or that you'd want to get out there to the folks watching? And
no, I don't think so. Beyond the fact that the musicians in this film, are incredible and hardworking, and as so many musicians, under-recognized. And it's another reason why I'd love the film to be out there, is so people can get to know who these guys are, see what they're doing, experience what they're doing. It's the film itself might be a work of art, but it's about their art.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to share, there's another clip that I'm not going to play right here, but I'm going to share it in the chat. That's Meet the Musicians. And that's like a little 4-minute video clip if you guys want to watch that when we're done. And I'm going to sign out here with, I think I have it set up here. Yeah, there's another version of the trailer of the film, so we'll take a look at that and wrap up the show. Thank you all for tuning into Deadheadland. Thank you for coming here. All sorts of great stuff coming up on Deadheadland, like just in a couple hours. Stu Allen tonight, 7 p.m. here on Deadheadland TV. That'll specifically be on Deadheadland Facebook. So those of you watching on Twitch and YouTube, all three of you, come on over to Deadheadland. I don't get a huge audience on Twitch or YouTube. I wish I did. But come on over to Deadheadland Facebook at 7 and Stu Allen. That show is free. We're also doing a real special show on May 1st where we've got Stu Allen, Elliot Peck, Craig MacArthur, Alex Coford. It's a poolside show. It's a private party situation for a very small amount of people, social distance situation. But we are going to be streaming that. That is a ticketed show. You got to buy a ticket for it, but for as little as $5, you can get in and watch that show. So that's Saturday, May 1st on deadheadland.com/Mayday. And so that's what's coming up on Deadheadland. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, Hal, for being here. And like I said, we're going to go out now with the Jazz Nights Confidential Journey, the alternate trailer.
Can I throw one thing in there before you show
absolutely.
That? Not to compete with any of your live streams, but one of the things that we're doing for Jazz Nights for this campaign is on Jazz Nights Film Facebook page. I'm going to be having some little mini concerts with a number of people in our community that are going to be playing this weekend. We've got some jazz musicians this weekend. I'm also going to be on Tales from the Golden Road. on Sunday.
Oh, that's right. I saw the Tales from the Golden Road. So
Yeah, Sunday at 2, and
that's some serious publicity.
that's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. We also have, the guys from Fragile Thunder, Anilla Lauren and David Gans and Stephen Inglis are going to be
Okay, and
coming
Gans
on.
and Inglis are both regulars here on Deadheadland and stuff. So very
Yep,
good. So
they're going to be
that's
playing.
the Jazz Nights. We'll post the link for that too. That's the Jazz Nights Facebook page.
And we'll be
Great,
doing a
great.
Jerry's Middle Finger hotel room stream. So keep
Live, and that's on the Jazz Nights OnlyFans page. No, live from the hotel room. All right, you got. Here we go with the trailer, and we'll see y'all in just a little bit with Stu Allen.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
It was challenging. I mean, I was nervous the first time. I used to shed my freaking ass off to go play that gig with those guys because I know how heavy they are,
Well, I'm definitely out of my comfort zone on some of that music, on a lot of it. And I surprise myself by the risks that I take and by the way that everyone around me makes me feel in order to take those risks.
Everyone that's playing in that group, we're all sidemen, and we all work for other people, and we have to learn music, and we have to play it this way, and we have to gauge whether or not to take this risk, But we basically can play whatever, and that's precious.
When you start off playing a music like this, you, like I say, it can be very intimidating, and you kind of want everything to be perfect. But then, I think as you grow and you become more mature in the music, you allow yourself to let go.
When mistakes are made or something happens, it's like extremely forgiving. It's like, oh, it is what it is. It's all good, man.
There's no such thing as a wrong chord in jazz. The wrong chord in jazz is the one that you're playing because you practiced it too much, because you're not following your heart.
More than an area of the record store, jazz is kind of a philosophy, it's a way of life. Is that life is filled with kind of unpredictable shifts, and then playing jazz is a good practice in learning how to negotiate the changes as they come.
Feels more like something out of the 20s.
It's so perfect it's happening in a hash bar, because it's like has this like kind of illicit, speakeasy, underground thing.